Welcome to A Taste of AZ podcast, where we Taste of AZ podcast, where we interview everyone from James Beard award-winning chefs to local mixologists, winemakers, breweries, and so much more. We've got an awesome episode lined up for you today. But before we get into that, head to atasteofaz.com so you can subscribe to our quarterly magazine and email newsletter to find all of the best places to eat and drink around town. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Now let's get into the episode.
All right, so we are here with Jenny from Earth Sugar.
Hi.
Jenny, great to see you again.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
We met last year at the Good Food Expo, and before we hit record here, you were telling me about you don't usually do stuff like that, right? You usually don't do the expos, but you knew we were going to be there.
Yeah.
So you were like, I got to meet these folks.
Yeah, basically.
But you said, so you went there at the Good Food Expo. Shout out to Local First for always doing amazing stuff. So what brought you to that particular event then, if that's something you typically don't do?
Yeah. So I am like the biggest supporter for local products, local businesses, independent stores, people who want to start their own business, going out and doing their own things. And I had started this business mostly through doing the farmers markets and online. And I had worked in big food before with other companies.
Okay.
And I kind of had gotten a taste of what it looked like to get a distributor, be expanded into big stores. And I always approach it with just some hesitance because sometimes that could be the big, shiny thing that people look for, and they kind of like build their whole company around that. But when you kind of get into the weeds of it and you start realizing what it means and what it takes to do that, it you just kind of see that there's a lot of problems with it and a lot of issues with it personally for the business owner, for the manufacturer. Yeah. So for that event, I decided, let me go check this out. Let me put out my product, because mostly my goal is to become the #1 snack bar in Arizona, to really infiltrate the community and teach people about why I'm doing what I'm doing, and, just really just meet people. Like, that's why I have a business. I love humans. I love people. And I really just wanted to set up, meet people like you who were talking and creating conversation, meet people who are working with ASU and the local schools. And then, just kind of entertain distributor conversations and see what that looks like. And I was just joking. It was funny because a lot of distributors, they'll put you in local stores in Arizona. And I had gotten us into over 100 stores by myself and doing our own direct distribution, which I think a lot of people don't think that you can do. People ask me, they're like, how did you get into all these stores? I'm like, I just walked in and said hi. Like,
how do you go into the store?
How you doing? Like, most of the time, if you walk in and give people free snacks and free food, they automatically like you.
That's a good start.
That's a good start. It's like a really easy way to just open up the portal and have some fun with it.
Yeah.
And I don't really believe in rejection. I just, everything's okay. You just can go in, and I don't mind being silly, making a fool of myself if that's what happens. And usually it doesn't. So, And so all the distributors are really shocked. They're like, how, that's crazy. Like, that's what we do. Like, how did you do that? We've been in this business for 30 years. And I was like, I think like it just comes down to the fact that I've always been great at people and just understanding what that means in business.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I love it. Cause just from the few times that I've met you, you're just this great positive personality, and the smile right there. Like, I don't know if you can zoom in on that somehow, but I love it. And that's the passion and what I love about like local food and beverage, right? I spent years trying to figure out what it is that I want to do. And there were certain aspects of certain jobs that I liked, but for the most part, hated every job, right? Up until we started this in 2018. But it was always the people, and it was always that's what I loved. That was the common thread. But what I found with food and beverages, there's so many people that are really passionate about the way, right? They're not doing energy bars just because, I looked in a spreadsheet and this was the best, return on my, it's passion. It's passion for the product, providing healthier options or providing different, whatever it is, there's a lot of heart and soul behind it. Right.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes it in some ways a little bit easier to do the going in, you're not knocking on these people's door trying to sell them a 3-line telephone, right? Which I did. That was one of my jobs.
I would probably have fun with that too, but just so I could talk. But you're so right. That's why I love food. I love community. And that's why the farmers markets are so infectious to me. Yeah. You walk up to a booth and you see some guy, he's, selling hot sauce or he's selling oranges, and you start asking him about his product And you just see the light in his eyes, and he lights up and he starts talking about it and how it took him 5 years to find the exact chili that he needed and this exact mixture.
Yeah.
And, that this was a staple that I had in my family, and it brought us so much joy that I thought, you know what, let me put this out into the world. And I'm a third generation entrepreneur. My
Nice.
grandparents owned the Harrington Park Meat Market. I come from this area, Bergen County, New Jersey, small town Harrington Park. And my grandfather, my grandmother, they owned this meat market. They were butchers. They grew vegetables and fruits in the backyard, sold that in the shop. My mom worked there. My mom, her uncle, they all lived upstairs and then worked downstairs.
Yeah.
So I grew up with being the butcher's granddaughter.
Yeah.
Like everyone knew me and everyone knew my grandparents. For every holiday, they would go there and get their pork roast, they'd get their steaks, go get their hamburgers for the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And he did that for 30 years. And that was so cool to me. Just like the coolest thing ever was my family is serving the community for this need. And the way that it was so easy to make friends just by food, just connecting, like that simple thing of opening the door.
For sure. And it's a positive thing, right? It's not like when your family owns like the local like plumbing business, like you're dealing with people when they're dealing with, no pun intended, but some shitty shit, right?
Well, ironically, my father does own a pump and shit business. So
you got
hear
both
this
ends
out.
covered.
Yeah. So it's so funny you say that because my grandparents owned the meat market, and then my mom and my dad owned Pumping Solutions.
Yeah.
It's the biggest pump and plumbing company in Manhattan. But
of all the things in Manhattan.
But in Manhattan in the tri-state area.
Wow.
But I'm so happy you brought this up because he started this company. He was the same as us. He worked 300 jobs.
Yeah.
Hated all of them, and came to the same conclusion that I did, that no one in this world knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So the portal is open for you to try.
For sure.
And everyone just either gets lucky or they find the right people, or maybe they strike gold with a certain account and then that propels them forward.
Yeah.
But my dad saw that. And so he came home when I was like 2 months old and he goes, Mary, my mom, quit my job. I'm going to start my own business. And she literally says that she wanted to kill him on that day. Like she was like, I hate you. Why did you do that? We just bought a house and had a baby.
Not even confirm with her. Yeah.
And so my dad didn't go to like classical college. Like he trained in plumbing. But what he saw when he was working as a plumber was that there was a guy that would come in who was above all of them, who was making more money, who was a pump specialist. And a pump specialist, they sell huge pumps for skyscrapers. Like they literally are the people who, when you have an 80 floor building, a pump, how do you get that water from ground zero to the 80th floor?
Yeah.
How do you keep that water hot and cold?
Yeah.
And that really, impacts people's living quality.
Sure.
He also specializes in like water purification and like just clean water and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he started this business with one truck. Now he has like 50 employees. He's had the same business for 30 years. He's had the same employees for 30 years.
Wow.
They were all just at my wedding. They're
Yeah.
literally like my uncles and cousins. And when they speak about my father, they love him. They're like, you changed my life because you went out there, you put your life on the line, and you you created opportunity for all of us. And then they stuck by him. And that ecosystem, it was so interesting because I, again, same as you, I was like, I'm working for food because I want to do the right thing. And they wanted me to work in that environment, but it's hardcore working in New York, it's hardcore. He's been commuting to New York for 30 years and my brother works there, and I give them so much credit because it's not as fun and bubbly as what I do. Yeah. But at the same time, when I go and I see him in the field, and when I go into a building in Manhattan and everyone's like, John, running up, giving him hugs and handshakes, you can tell that when you're doing the right thing, that is obvious, you can be in an industry that's not exactly cute, but you can make it fantastic if you're a good person, if you pay your employees, if you do the right thing, if you don't cut corners. Yeah. And that's, what I was raised with seeing all that stuff and being like, and then when I went to go work for corporate, I'm like, all these guys suck. This is crazy. My dad had an employee who had just beat cancer, and he bought him a all expenses paid 9-day trip to Hawaii for him and his whole family.
That's awesome.
You don't see that in big businesses, and I would say he's small to medium still because he's not like a gigantic business, but he does everything in-house by himself. Yeah. And it might have taken him a little longer to get there, but now it's like, how cool is that? You know what I mean? It's really, really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a crazy that I brought up plumbing too, like of all the things, right?
I'm happy you did though, because it doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like looking at my life now, it all makes sense. But growing up, I mean, I sold meat. I worked in the meat industry. I worked for a vegan yogurt company. I worked in real estate. I worked in public relations in Hollywood. I did everything. I did a lot of random stuff.
Yeah.
And like growing up, I was always like, why, people were always like, oh, what's Jenny doing now? She always changes her mind.
Yeah.
But how can you learn if you don't put yourself in different situations with different people? And now with Earth Sugar, like when I wanted to start this, I did all my own graphics. I built my packaging. I coded my website. I designed the formula. I sell the product. I market it. I do my own PR. Been on the news 17 times, and so you got to be scrappy. And that's, you learned that by getting out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I want to get into that a little bit, but first we got to give a shout out to Monsoon Market.
Yes.
For that. What are their names again?
Coral and Miche.
Yeah. They are awesome. This place is super cool, right? Because you look around and I see they have like cool gifts and stuff, I've seen, books, things, stores like in this style, but to add in the beverage aspect, like that in the beverage and the food and the snacks, that's like two worlds that collide so beautifully.
I love Monsoon Market.
Yeah.
First of all, they just get it. They understand so many things. They're so smart. They're business savvy, marketing, social media, everything. But more so than that, they notice in Arizona, I don't know if you know this, but 99.5% of businesses in Arizona are small businesses. Oh, it's amazing.
Wow.
It's actually fantastic. There's 650,000 small businesses in Arizona. And if you look around, everyone's got a side hustle. Everyone's got a gig. Everyone's creating. Everyone's, there's art here. There's food. There's wine. There's beer. Yep. And they saw that and they were like, we're going to create a really dope, aesthetic, cool, store where people could come shop local products. They can shop natural wine, stuff that's good for them. Yep. And that's why my product's here. That's why I send all my customers here to buy them, because I really think that is the backbone of America is small independent stores, independent markets, small businesses, people just doing their own thing and creating communities and stuff like that. And it's just really beautiful to see. It's awesome.
Say shout out. I didn't see them. And then all of a sudden the door shut. They were like, oh, but they're not shy to be in front of the camera. They have their own podcast as well. I saw they do a great job. Right, guys? You're good. We're just shouting you out right now, talking about the podcast.
They do have a great podcast. Every time they post something on social media, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so good at this.
They are. I'm envious. We've done hundreds of episodes. The beer podcast was almost 400 episodes. This is almost 200. And I see theirs. I'm like that's the editing that I want. They do cool cuts. I assume they have multiple cameras. They've got kind of like a vintage type of I don't want to say filter because that's
aesthetic.
Just looks really cool and it connects with the vibe here at Monsoon Market. We were setting up this podcast and they pretty much had this area set up, but we were moving this table over and the table kind of came apart. I'm like, what the heck? And I realized it's the yin yang.
I know.
And it's cool. Like it's two tables and so
it's one of those places that every time you look at a wall, you see new things every time you look at it, which I love. I'm someone who I'll just go into stores and just stare at things for hours. Like I'm a knick-knack searcher. Like I just want to go look at the market, like just walk around, like see what's new, just explore and I've always loved to do that. I
love that too. I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old daughter, two daughters. My 12-year-old, her and I will go into thrift stores. We'll go to farmers markets. Yeah. My 10-year-old's like, nah, she's like, I'm going to go to Sephora. She's more into that kind of stuff. Yeah. She's
that's what's happening now. Yeah. It's so funny. Like, I don't think I wore makeup until 18. Okay. And now I have, this is the most makeup I've worn actually all year because I've recently been going on podcasts not wearing makeup. And I was like, oh man, I should at least put something on. Yeah. But I've just been consumed with a natural lifestyle for, probably like 12 years. Like I grew up with really bad digestive issues. Okay. Like when I turned 7, it was like, my stomach hurts. Like always picking things off of my food, like scraping cheese off pizza. Yeah. And then as I got older, it just got worse. And then I had to go to a nutritionist. They're like, take out gluten, take out soy, take out dairy. And that kind of just started literally a lifelong journey of me trying to heal myself, like heal my gut health, heal so many things. And as I got older and everyone, you go to college, post-college, everyone's going out, they're drinking, they're wearing makeup, they're just wearing perfume, like just like so much stuff. And I've always just been a believer of doing my own research. And I just felt like maybe something's going on here. Like, let me like look into all this stuff for myself. And once I really kind of like separated myself from like a lot of toxic lifestyle choices or just, letting my body breathe, honestly, because as a female, you wake up and you can put almost 300 chemicals on your body before you walk out the door between your body wash, deodorant, shaving cream, skincare, face makeup, hair care, it's nails. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And, getting away from all that stuff. One, I'm so confident in who I am as a person.
Sure.
Here I am. I'm Jenny. That's me. I wake up, I go to the market, and if you don't love my face, okay, like it is what it is. Here's my face.
Yeah.
And then the other side of it, like my health is just fantastic. Like I feel so great all the time. Like, you say I'm smiley. I'm like, it's because I really do genuinely feel that. Like
it's very genuine.
Throughout my cells, like I'm like, I want to take this and I want to show people, and like, you can feel this great. And like, these are just some simple things that I've done. And you can find clean products and stuff, of course. But it's important to just kind of like look into what you're purchasing and just be like, is this good for me? Does this person love me? Does this person love human beings? Or do they love my bottom line?
Exactly. Yeah. My wallet that's actually, that's really, I like that because that's my wife, right? Like my wife is very good at, now every time I go to get, whether it's food or lotion or whatever it is, she's like, all right, what's in it? Like, what is in it? So she's very minimalist with that stuff. So we're passing that on to our daughters, right? Very subtle, like, okay, what is the makeup you're using? Make sure we're paying for, pay a premium for the better quality stuff with the better quality ingredients. Cause it's crazy that like, you're putting lotion on you don't know what, like this is seeping into your skin. This is going into your to your body, literally
directly into your bloodstream.
Yeah.
And most people don't know this, but like perfumes, smells, though the chemicals that make perfumes are almost exact to natural flavors that you find in food products.
Okay.
Because like your nose and your tongue are kind of connected. Like, if like when people were getting COVID, like they couldn't really taste or taste and smell, it's connected. And so like stuff that like makes smells and stuff that creates that stuff, like those kinds of sensations are pretty much the same chemicals that go into flavoring your food, like the chemical flavorings. And it's really, really interesting. Like when you look at this stuff, like just like from a food science standpoint, and you start seeing like the companies that make fragrances are the top companies that make natural flavors. And you're like, well, that's weird. That's funny.
Right.
That doesn't seem right. Is this in the same room? Is this in the same pot that they're boiling? And a lot of these chemicals, they're not edible until they go through a certain mechanical action. And so, that's with a lot of ingredients that are in our products. Like, I mean, a lot of ingredients are literally purchased as inedible food stuff, and then they take it through this incredible mechanical process to make it somewhat safe, or the FDA calls it like kind of safe, basically. They're like approved, but like we haven't really found anything about it yet,
but proceed with caution.
Sketchily approved. And then that's pumped out into all processed food. It's kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy. Well, that's a perfect segue. Well, before we get into, because I really want to talk about Earth Sugar, but you got to take me back to Penn State. You said you were a huge partier. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I wish. That's why I have like one friend out of college, like literally.
I don't have any, and I party, so that doesn't. I don't think that
it's
correlates.
So funny. I went to Penn State to study journalism, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
And I loved Penn State because, first of all, it was a big college. I went to a small like high school and had a small hometown. So when I got there, I was like, oh my gosh, people don't hate me. Or like, the world is my oyster. Signed up for every club. But it is a big, it's a big drinking school. It's a big party school. There's a lot kind of going on there all the time. And my freshman year, I got there and I was like, I'm going to be a normal kid. I'm going to try to go out. I'm going to eat garbage college food. And I mean, like 6 months into college, I was so inflamed. I was in so much chronic pain. Like I was really having probably the worst digestive flare up of my life. Like it was just horrific. And I came home and my parents were like, whoa, like you're swollen. And I'm like, I feel horrible.
Yeah.
And I kind of got to this conclusion, like I had been rejected from all the sororities at Penn State, so I was like, okay, that's not my scene. Like, I just can't do this. So let me try to do something else. And I applied to be a web writer at Valley Magazine, the biggest life and style magazine at Penn State. And they had this food and nutrition column that nobody wanted to write for. Because back then, like, people weren't talking about food and nutrition really.
Sure.
Like there was like some stuff going on, like the bodybuilding scene was big on Instagram or like bikini body diets, but there was no like true health movement or people, drink water. I don't even know if I drank water all 4 years of college. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like So I by myself, I would take my car to Wegmans and I would walk around and I just taught myself like how to eat healthy, like how to eat gluten-free food. I would go to the farmers markets with the whole Amish community. I would spend like 6 hours there and I'd be like, teach me what this is. Like I would walk up with like a zucchini and I'd be like, is this a cucumber? They're like, no. Like I would buy avocados. I'd cut them in the wrong direction. Like I truly was like, I had no clue how to eat healthy at all. Yeah. And I taught myself from the ground up. I started writing for this column of little stuff I was doing. Then I started competing for Spartan races. I started to win them, which was crazy. Yeah. Like I was an athlete my whole life, but I sat the bench. Like everyone my whole life on every sport sat the bench. This girl never saw 1 minute of playing time. So I really never thought like I was an athlete. And so it was really cool being able to create this own kind of like world for myself through eating healthy and through working out. And so in the mornings where my friends were coming back home from a night of partying at 6 a.m., I would be out on a 13-mile run and I'd be like, hey, and they'd be like, you suck. I'm like, sorry. Or, people are pre-gaming next door. I'm bringing over like homemade apple cookies with like maple syrup and oatmeal. Yeah. And, people thought I was crazy, like forever. Like they were like, I don't want to eat like Jenny. That's boring. I don't want to do that. Like, ew. Yeah. And now all of those people text me constantly for food advice. Yeah. And I'm like, this is hilarious because you guys bullied me relentlessly for this.
Yeah. But that is like at that age, you take pride in oh man, I spent $20 at Taco Bell, stuff like that. And you just take pride where now I'm like, I just like
the food scene is crazy in colleges. Yeah. And now it makes me so angry because, like when you're 18 to 21 or whenever you're in college, like those are such important years.
For sure.
And then you go to college, you're away from your family. And then what do you want to do? You want to drink, you want to go out, you want to go to the pizza at 12 in the morning. And that's fun. Like that's all fun and games. I'm not saying that there's no space for that. Sure. But there's also space to just educate yourself that when you are someone like me who put myself into literal duress, like I was like so sick, and I had no information of like how to get out of that, like how to like fix myself. And because I had no information to get out of that, I was kind of like just the perfect patient for doctors to prescribe me stuff or for naturopaths to take my money. Yeah. And, for certain diet cultures to trap me, for the fitness industry to trap me, because I was always asking other people, what should I do? What should I eat? How should I feel? Yeah. And now I know exactly those things because I know myself more than anybody else. Sure. And I know I can walk into a doctor's appointment and they can tell me something and I'm like, no, you're full of shit. Yeah. And I will say that. I will be like, you're not listening to what I'm saying. And you have to advocate for yourself. You have to know yourself better than anybody else. And you can't be Googling, what should I eat? Like you have to take a pen and paper, write it down, like feel your body, be in tune. Yeah. And then it's magical from there. It's like, you literally feel like you can conquer the world once you have that confidence in yourself. Yeah, I dig it. Well, let's take a quick break. First shout out to Monsoon Market. Thank you for having us here. This place is beautiful. You guys are awesome. And thank you.
A real quick reminder, head over to atasteofaz.com and subscribe to our email newsletter. Also, subscribe to A Taste of AZ magazine and get it shipped right to your door. Now let's get back into today's episode.
All right, we're back. Once again, shout out to Monsoon Market. I want to get these guys on the podcast. I think that they would be fun guests.
I think so too. They have a really cool story. I think you should definitely, talk to them. Okay. They're awesome.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. So,
that's why we're here. I'm like, I love this place.
No, this is
my
great.
manufacturing facility is low-key full of pallets of ingredients. Like there's absolutely no space for me to even like, have a desk there. It's kind of funny. Like when I have people come over for meetings, they're like, wow, this is getting crazy, isn't it? I'm like, it's gotten big.
Yeah. Where is it? Where do you?
It's in Tempe.
Okay.
We actually, it's inside this hotel. It's called the Tempe Tempest Hotel.
Okay.
It's really cool. I run the entire kitchen. We're in there 7 days a week. They sell our snacks in the market. Like they have a little snack section.
So you're in the kitchen, like at the, like.
No, we just make our bars there. But what happened
gotcha.
is that this was a boutique hotel that used to be like a Holiday Inn. And right during COVID, they were trying to convert it into this like cute, unique Western kind of like, weekend hotel.
Yeah.
But they don't have a dining room and they didn't have a chef. So they built out, a brand spanking new kitchen, like beautiful kitchen, and they had absolutely no use for it.
Yeah.
So by grace of the universe, like I started this company out of my apartment and it was taking off and I was like, wow, I need to get a space. And in Arizona, a lot of other food companies know this. It's really hard to get a space. Like it's really hard to get that foot in the door. You need a lot of money, or you have to go into a shared kitchen and they cap your hours. They might charge a little extra, and it's hard. Like we make 5,000 bars a day, like a week. Like we're cranking out volume, and I'm like, I need this space. Like I need to live here. So I don't know, like I think I might've been on a weird website, like commercial kitchens for rent.com, like something, I don't know. I'm like Googling, like I'm in backdoor Googles, like, and I find this listing of this hotel that they were like, we're trying to, lease out this kitchen, come by if you're interested. And I show up there and they're like, oh, sorry, we just can't find a person for the space because we don't have any ovens and a hood. I go, well, my product's raw. Like I don't need an oven. I don't need a hood. I need space. I need storage. I need 3-phase power for my blender. And they're like, oh, well, we have all that. I'm like, well, it sounds like we have a deal. And I moved in and literally it changed my whole life because then I could ship nationwide. I could sell into stores. I could make
because of
mass
the amount
volume.
that you could,
that and having a fully permitted facility rather than working under the Cottage Pantry Act, which is an act in Arizona where cottage pantry law is you're allowed to start a food business in your house if you make a product that is shelf stable, low moisture, or a baked item. So if you're baking bread, muffins, cakes, things like that, our products work because they're raw. They don't have any water in there. Like we just take raw shelf stable ingredients, blend it together for 18 seconds and pulse it down. So that worked for that time. But that to me was, I worked in the food industry. I'm like, I need a space. Like I need to do things properly. And so I was able to just, change my whole business. Like it became a real business. And then I had a kitchen and I was like, your girl has a kitchen. I was like, I threw a grand opening of my kitchen. Like all my friends came.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was really cool because then I still really didn't know what I was doing, but the universe was showing me, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. And I'm a big believer of if things are supposed to happen for you, they will happen. And I'm someone who really, I'm in tune with my energy. Like I get big shiny offers all the time. And I know when I'm supposed to take them and when I'm supposed to say no. Because sometimes, call it what it is, but things will come at you and it's like a test, right? It's like, are you and in your heart when you're supposed to do things, and based off of your P&L when you should do things. And sometimes people ignore that, and you should not ignore those feelings. Like you should go with your gut. And my gut was telling me at that time, do this opportunity, go here. It was opening certain doors for me. And it was just really cool that it worked out. And, it's been awesome.
Well, where did it start? Where did the idea how did you get to Arizona? How'd you go from,
oh my gosh,
from,
so funny.
Is it Happy Valley? It's Happy Valley?
No. So I was living in Brooklyn. I was working as the director of research and development for a vegan yogurt company.
Gotcha.
I had gotten this crazy job that I was, really, truly not qualified for. Like I went to school for journalism and PR. But over the years, I had taught myself so much about food in grocery stores and product development that I had all this knowledge. And I was like up at night all the time, like designing products, designing companies, like just like a lunatic. And then I was like chasing these other jobs because I felt like my degree meant I should chase these jobs, but this is just my hobby.
Sure.
And I had ended up meeting someone at a food event, and I was talking like I usually do to anyone, like just blah, 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 blah. And he was like, well, have you ever looked into like a research and development or like snack innovation? Like you sound like you're an inventor. And I was like, oh, I'm an inventor? Like that's a cool way of calling my ADHD something fun, like, because that's like literally, I would come downstairs every day. My parents would be like, I just came up with this idea. Like I just came up with this snack company. Like this is what it would be called. I had a logo built out. I've made like, I didn't even know, 32 websites. Like I was buying LLCs left and right, like just in case. And so I get this job and I start creating products for grocery stores nationwide, like literally from ideation where nothing was there from scratch, and then designing the product, figuring out how to make it scalable, figuring out how to source different ingredients, how to market it. And I was so good at this. I was like, this is my shit. Like I found it. This is it. Like oh my gosh. And it was amazing. But then COVID hit New York.
Yeah.
And it just turned into an absolute shit show. And it was really scary. I was living there by myself. I was 23, living in a studio apartment I'm paying so much money for. And again, I'm in my apartment. I'm like sitting with all these ideas that I had. And something was like, girl, like, you got to do this. Like, you got to do it now because the world is dying. And now is the time to do something stupid because everyone is failing. And there's absolutely like what possibly could go wrong more so than what's going wrong. Yeah. So I booked a one-way ticket to Arizona. I like didn't want to go as far as California because I had lived there before in LA and I didn't know anything about Colorado. And so I'm like on my Instagram, I'm posting that I'm going to go to Arizona. And this guy, my now husband, Joey, slid into my DMs and he was like, hey, I'm Joey. We went to high school together, but we've never met. And I live in Arizona and I've been following you. You really like food and hiking and yoga. And I think you should come out here. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be there on Monday. Like, what should I do? Yeah. And he offered to pick me up from the airport and he picked me up from the airport. He brought me dinner with a gluten-free bun. I'm like, this guy. Wow. I'm like, what? And I was like super single, super not into dating. I've always just been very career driven and not like I wasn't open to it, but I was just doing my thing. Yeah. And I'm a bit of a fiery, energetic person. Like no one can keep up with me. Like, you know, people are usually intimidated by that. And he picked me up and we just started hanging out. And he was the only guy that I had met who was able to beat me in a race and beat me up a mountain, which I was like, yo, what? Like, because usually I was whooping ass, like literally like running circles around people. And so we fell in love in like a week. And great. It was just so funny. He grew up 0.3 miles from my house in New Jersey. And I met him in Scottsdale.
And you said you guys went to high school together?
Yeah.
And it was a small high school
and
too,
I dated guys on his baseball team and he was the catcher and I never met him. Like,
that's why, because you can't see, he had the mask on and everything, you know?
Yeah. You know, like, but it was just so funny because then so what happened is he brought me to the farmer's market. And I'm walking around this farmer's market. It's Scottsdale in Old Town. Yeah. And I'm like, what is this? Yeah. Because in New York, the farmer's markets are super unattainable. The vendors like grandfathered in. It's like, you need so much money to start a business in New York. It's like, you know. Yeah. And then in Pennsylvania, I just kind of saw Amish community with like
roadside stands.
And roadside stands and like fruits and vegetables. Yeah. But particularly in Arizona, there was a lot of like products. Oh, sure. You know, people were selling chips and salsas and like inventions that they made. Yeah. And I'm going around, I'm like, are you wholesaling or are you selling? Like, no, this is my product. I'm like, wait, you make this product? They're like, yeah. And we just sell it. I'm like, how many markets do you do a week? They're like, you know, there's like 10, 12 markets a week out here. I'm like, oh my gosh. Ding, ding, ding. I'm moving to Arizona. Yeah. Like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start my snack business at the farmers markets in Arizona, out of my apartment. And so I literally gave away all my stuff for free in New York. I was like, take it. I don't want it. I'm out. Yeah. And Joey and I, we loaded up my Subaru and we did a 12-day cross-country trip to Arizona. He moved me in and we lived not together, but in the same apartment building. I mean, basically he never left. So I was like, okay, I guess we're living. So, then I basically turned my first apartment into a test kitchen. Yeah. And for 3 months, all I did was design design snacks, like design products that I thought could work. I paid attention to the market. I was a big hiker. Like, no one's making energy bars. This is crazy. Yeah. Like, and it's 110 degrees out here. This product can't melt. Yeah. Like, this product has to be portable. It has to be shelf stable. And just kind of like going through my regular, like when I was director of R&D, like asking myself these questions, like, okay, is it scalable? And then taking it down from there, like just bare bones. And once I eventually got to the first product, I posted on Facebook like, hey guys, I finally started my company. I called it Earth Sugar because I have a major beef with the food industry taking out fruit and taking out real ingredients and replacing it with fake flavorings or synthetic sugars or sugar alcohols. Because number one, it's not nutrition. There's no nutrition in that product.
Sure.
So you're constantly hungry after eating them.
Yeah.
And then 2, why are we fear-mongering fruit? It's something that comes from the ground. It's beautiful. Maple syrup, fantastic. You tap a tree, it comes out of the tree. Mesquite grows in everyone's backyard here in Arizona. Like these things, like people should know about, like how beautiful it is and like where our food comes from and how we can have fantastic food that's very minimally processed rather than making a mango flavored something that is just chemicals. Cause like these natural flavors, it's not just like mango flavor.
Yeah.
They have stuff that are like taste modulators or sugar modulators that actually trick your taste buds into thinking you're consuming something sweeter, or like mouth type feel flavors, like that round water. So when you drink water, it has this perception that you're drinking like something more milky. Like that's how you make almond milk. You take water, 1 almond, fiber, and then all these mouth type flavors to make it have body. And so you're just drinking, chemical. And then most of the time, then they're putting sugar in it. So you're drinking chemical sugar water. Like it's literally, and then they're selling it for $10 a piece.
Yeah.
And you're like, why is it so expensive? You're like, because they're making a lot of money off of it and laughing in your face.
Yeah.
Because I was making that stuff. And I was, I kind of felt like I was that hippie insider that they led into all these conversations. And I'm looking around, I'm like, you idiots. Like, do you know who you're talking to? Like, I'm sitting in like gigantic meetings with all these flavor technologists, and they're teaching me how to powderize ingredients to mix it with maltodextrin to lower the cost of goods, swap out, fruits, and how do we basically sell them fruit without any fruit? Like that's the game. And I was like, this is pure evil, because that is probably why my stomach got screwed up. It's why everyone's stomach got screwed up. Yeah. It's why people, overeat, because everything is so freaking tasty. Yeah. Most people don't know, like food scientists are paid on how to make stuff more addictive. Like that literally goes into the equation. They're like, how do we make this so people can't stop eating this? Yeah. And it's literally what they're being paid millions of dollars to do. And I'm like sitting in this meeting, like losing my marbles. Oh my gosh. I've seen some shit. And walking through facilities and I'm like, what? I'm like, what? Like, how is this happening? Like people, I know brands that are lying on labels in grocery stores because you don't get caught. Like the FDA, I compare them to like a mall cop. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta do the right thing. And so I always say, like, if you want to work in food, you have to love people. You have to love human beings. Sure. And when I started this company, I'm like, I'm going to make a product for humans, no one else. I'm not going to make a product obsessing over my cogs or, how to manipulate the macros on something, like how to basically have a protein drink without any real protein, like how to have a sugar drink without any real fruit. What is that? That's not food. No, it's food stuff. That's what they call it, which is a hilarious term.
It is. That's like an official term,
food
right?
Stuff.
Food stuff.
Yeah, that's what they call it when it's like not really real food.
Food stuff. Yeah. Well, my wife always says, she's like, are there natural flavors? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. She's like, no. She's like, it's not fine. Like, it's not. And so I'm starting to realize, like, okay,
because it's a huge category. Like, most people don't do this, but I've read the entire FDA guideline manual front to back twice. Yeah. It's crazy because it's a guideline. And then what you have is lawyers who you pay and you say, okay, well, here's what we're doing. How do we label it correctly so we don't get caught?
How do you play the game?
How do we play the game? It's all a game. Like certain stuff, like you can add a certain amount of, if you have lower than a certain amount of sugar in something, but you manipulate the serving size, you can round down on things. That's crazy. You can round down on calories. You can round down on sugar. You can round up, and like, it's like, what's 1 point here? What's 1 point there? But like, it's a lot. Like it's important. And it's important that people should know that like, it's a game, like everything is in life, everything is in business. And like, there's always going to be guidelines. There's always going to be people who are better at skirting around them. Yeah. It just is what it is. And now the whole health movement, you have plant-based, you have people being able to put healthy on a product. Yeah. You have, all these different kind of call outs where you're looking at a packaging, it has so many certifications and you're like, oh, I trust all these certification companies are companies. Yeah. You buy into these certifications and then depending on your annual sales, you pay more. Yeah. So it's like, of course, like they're, of course, like it's just one of those things.
Here's your organic stamp. Absolutely. Check, please.
Yeah. Exactly. Wow. And that's just, people are always like, really? Like, I'm like, yeah, like the food industry isn't different than any other industry. And it's not like it's not like I'm shitting on them, but it's just something that we all should understand. Like when you're looking into a grocery store and you're like, I'm feeling bad, all I eat is boxed food. Okay, well, that's because they're not making stuff that is for edible consumption all the time. And they're figuring out, how to skirt things and do sketchy things. And you just got to know. Like I believe withholding knowledge is also lying. Like just, that's what I believe. I believe I'll never stop talking about this stuff because I want everyone to know.
I love the passion. Well, it's like you said, it's this whole game, but it's our job to know the rules of the game that we're playing, right?
Exactly.
Because when we lose because we didn't know the rules, well, that's on us for not knowing what the rules were. So understanding, and that's reading the labels. It's understanding that natural flavors it sounds good, right? It's like wholesome or healthy or these
PR terms, marketing terms,
for sure. Like, what says wholesome? What the hell does wholesome even mean?
Exactly.
Like, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
And know what it triggers in your mind, and that's exactly what they want you to think.
Yeah,
you think wholesome. Oh, Amish ingredients, like it's great. Their sweets are there's sugar and all this and flour and all this, but it's healthy, and it's like that's. But you're now
sustainable. That's a good one.
Yeah, sustainable. Like, what does that mean?
Like, okay, like
well, fish too. Like, we did a podcast with Chula Seafood like a couple years ago, and they were talking about how there's farmed fish and there's non-farmed fish, and then there's so much nuance with it where wild caught, right? Yeah. You could raise fish in this crappy environment in this farm, release them into the water in the open water, and then catch them again. Yeah. And it was caught in the wild.
Yes.
Like, even though it wasn't raised in the wild.
But that's exactly what you find in the FDA guidelines. And that's like when I worked for the meat companies, and they were like, we're going to go tour the duck farm, this duck farm, it's cage free. Okay. So the cage, it's not a cage. It's just a wooden pen. Yeah. And it's like this big. And there's 30 ducks inside, and they're banging on each other, and you're like, that's cage free? They're like, yeah,
it's not a cage.
Like, that's not a cage, what I'm right? Literally. And then that's what it is. It's really funny. And then like, it's just so interesting. Like when you just start reading about stuff, you're like, wow, like that's pretty crazy. Yeah. And for me, like I am a big believer of like, you can't talk smack about stuff unless you go see things. And that's why I'm always down to talk to people and hear them out. But I also don't like hypocrites. And I'll call myself out on certain stuff, like with our packaging. Like I would love to eventually make that like a recyclable packaging and take away the plastic. There's only so much I can do, but those things, like, to have the intentions, I think, are most important, and to be open and honest about them. Like, and I'm the queen of marketing. Like I know all the key words you can use to make something look beautiful. Like, and I think that's why I can look at things, because I did study PR and journalism. So I can look at stuff and be like, nah, you know, you're like, you read something like, okay, like
what does that mean? Like, what exactly does that mean? Right.
Yeah. But if you don't have that background, it's kind of hard. You're just like, I believe it,
For sure. Sounds great.
Sounds great. Like
me.
they hit the right words for me.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, but like, let's look behind these words. Like, let's look at the practices. Like, what are people saying? What are people doing? How many people sued them? Like, who sued them? Like, just stuff like that, where you're just like, interesting,
Yeah. And did they win the suit, or did they settle? Right. Yeah. Like, those are things like, oh, well, they got sued, but like, well, so that guy riding a unicycle?
Oh yeah, that's cool.
That is kind of cool. So all right, well, let's talk about Earth Sugar. So you're in your apartment and you're testing out all these snacks, right? How did you finally like nail this recipe?
So funny. I actually had a recipe for a vegan pie crust that I had in my journal, and I just threw it in a blender, blended it, popped it out, put it in like one of those tailgating tin pans, and like smacked it down. Yeah. And then that was the classic crunch bar. And I had people who emailed me like, hey, we want to try your product. Like, I don't think I said this. I posted on Facebook. I finally tried this. I finally launched this company and want to try. And I had like, 100 people say, hey, we want to try samples. And I was like, oh my God, like I don't have a product. So I had the company name. I had the concept. I wanted to do healthy, clean snacks with real fruits, but I didn't have like the product. So I just made 3 different products that I had in my journal. One of them was the classic crunch bar to the T, same formula, have not changed it from the first shot that I threw it in the blender. Nice. But I had called it different things. I was calling it like cookie dough bark or super bark. I was calling it. People thought it was a dog treat. Yeah. So I was like, oh, I got to pivot. Dang bark, it. Yeah. Like, I was like, no, I did not see it. And that's such a funny lesson of like, sometimes too much innovation or sometimes too much creativity isn't a good thing.
Yeah.
And I noticed that was happening. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call it an energy bar. And then my sales like totally took off. It was like, oh my gosh, duh. Like just call it what it is. Like call it something simple. Like I was already doing enough creativity with the name and the colors. So then I had started with that one flavor. I had gone down to the local coffee shop that was just right below my apartment. And I walk in and I'm like, would you sell these? And they're like, yeah, this is delicious. Like I'll put it in 6 of my locations. And I was like, what? I'm like, okay. So I had just gotten like a lot of like good notes in the right direction. But I think the coolest thing is like when I started, oh my gosh, I could show you old pictures. It's so funny. Like we've come a long way. But my customers, they loved me first. And they were like, Jenny, we love you. We love all the things you stand for. We trust you. We don't understand your concept yet, but we're going to keep supporting you until you figure it out.
Yeah.
And I have customers, I mean, dozens of customers who purchased my first product that looked like total crap, that broke apart, that was in weird packaging. And they are still my best customers, like my VIPs. And they were with me from ground zero where I didn't know what I was doing, but they were like, look, you're here to change the world and we believe you're going to do that. Like we love your personality. We love the fact that you remember all of our names. You remember our kids' names. You teach us about food. I always answer my cell phone, like, you know, like stuff like that, and connecting with the community. Like if there was an event, I was there. I was doing like 15 events a week. I did a 40-day long Christmas market. I was there every single day, like talking to every single person. I will never push a person away. I will talk to everybody. And that was like, I really think what started my business. And that gave me the confidence to then, okay, let me figure this out. Like, let me tweak some stuff. But that runway of people just, you know, coming up to the market and tipping me $200, just being like, just take it. Cause like you need this and you're on to something here.
Yeah.
What?
Wow.
I mean, that's amazing. And that was happening all the time, like all the time. And I was just like, wow, like I just took that. You know, I was like, I'm meant to do this. I'm going to do this the right way. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to really serve this community in a way that I think it should be served. And, you know, I believe like everyone should have a chance at business. I think it's magical. I think like if you have an idea and even if that brings you in $100 a month, do it.
Sure.
It's $5,000 a month. That's life-changing for a lot of people.
For sure.
And just the confidence of being like, oh my God, I sold something. And I always say like your mom buying product, that's a sale.
Yeah.
Like that's real money.
Yeah.
And for me, like I always tell people, like if you want to start a business, like just write down all the people you've ever met, all the people that trust you. And if you can sell those people on your product, like then you can sell other people. But like you have to understand that like to create a great product, like you have to have people to buy it and you have to create something that people want to believe in. So even when I didn't have a product, I was kind of speaking about all this stuff and they were like, we're with you on this. We get it. And the world is waking up to all this stuff. Like everyone has stomach problems. Yep. I personally suffer and still suffer with my stomach. It is like my life journey will be figuring out what's going on in there. Yeah. It's horrible. I hate it. But you know, it's like turning my pain into my purpose, like going through all that misery and being like, one day I'm going to create this beautiful, colorful snack company that's going to be a safe space for people like me. And then also a board for other people who are curious about this kind of lifestyle to be able to kind of like dip their toes into it. And with Earth Sugar, I thought it was going to be I was just going to sell products to like Jenny's, like gluten-free girls. And, you know, like all of us girls just like
lemon dresses
in my lemon dresses. And I was totally wrong. Like we literally feed babies, like 1-year-olds. I feed adults, men, hunters. Like I have a lot of big community of adult men who have lost significant amount of weight eating these bars because, you know, they'll wake up and they'll go to Dutch Bros or just, you know, they'll get like a milk and sugar drink and then like they're eating 2-3 muffins and they're hungry. And I'm like, well, real food like this, like with real fruit, it's filling, it's going to fill you up. And then they come back to the market and they buy 40 bars at a time. Like they're like stocking up. They're like, these changed my life. And I'm like, that's so cool because now I'm telling my dad to bring them to Manhattan because, you know, same thing with him. He wakes up, he doesn't eat, he starves himself out until 5, you know, then he's ravenously hungry and it creates a cycle. And, you know, it's just, I always say like the best thing is to have like an emergency snack, like to have something on hand, like when you can't eat, or if you do want to feel good and you just want a little snack, like I think there's nothing wrong with just having something good on you and just being like, this girl loves me.
I know. It's like a hug. It's like a hug in a box. Right?
And that's what people say. They like come back to the market holding the box. And like, I have customers that will come back a year later to the market with an empty, tattered box and my business card. And they're like, I held on to this for a year, hoping I would come and see you again. And they'll give me a hug. And then they're like, you know, I have customers who are emailing me from all over the country being like, it was so magical. We met you on our vacation. And, you know, like you changed my life. You gave me these quick tips. Like, oh my gosh, like I shared it with my cousins and my cousin who has cancer. And like, I sent her bars. And I'm like, that is so cool that like I was able to create that, you know, it's just like, or the community created it. I'm just doing, doing I
love it.
Like the wizard in the back.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, we need the wizard. Let's take another quick break and then we'll wrap this up. You've been incredible.
Oh, thank you.
You're a great guest. I'm so glad we
really?
did this.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Absolutely. All right, we'll take a quick break.
A real quick reminder, head over to atasteofaz.com and subscribe to our email newsletter. Also, subscribe to A Taste of AZ magazine and get it shipped right to your door. Now let's get back into today's episode.
All right, so we're back. Monsoon Market. Thank you guys for carrying so many great products. Purely Sedona sparkling water. I love sparkling water.
That's a good one. I love Sedona too.
I know, right? Their water is just, I mean, it's next level to me. And plus it feels like you're in Sedona when you're drinking it.
I know. Sedona's magical.
Yes, it is.
I do the farmer's market there every Sunday.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I need to make a trip up there.
Our bars are in a bunch of local stores there too.
Yeah.
Sedona Waterworks is actually another great store where you can go refill your water there. And the people there are so cool. That's another cool aesthetic place. They put like music festivals and
nice.
They're awesome.
Yeah. I love it. So you get this product, you've got it created, and then you just hit the streets. Is that it? Like
basically, I am all about guerrilla marketing. Like literally, I hit the streets.
Yeah.
I did. I'm the person who I always have bars on me, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Jenny. Do you want a snack? Have you heard about Earth Sugar?" And that's what I did for 2 years, and I aggressively was out there nonstop all the time talking about Earth Sugar, almost to like the point where people are like, okay, so what else can we talk about? Like I was like all things Earth Sugar all the time.
Yeah.
And I was lucky that at that point, my whole family and my husband were like, we're pretty much convinced that you will not stop this. So they're amazing. They support me literally beyond. It's so cool. Yeah. But yeah, I just hit the streets. I started doing up to 15 farmers markets a week. Nice. I started selling into stores, and then all my customers were from different parts of the country. So they're like, can you ship? And I was like, yeah. Like when I worked at this other job, like my job was to ship out investor packages. I would be shipping out 30, 40, sometimes 50 boxes a day and like carrying them to USPS through Brooklyn. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I could happily do this in Arizona. Like once you live in New York and work like that, like everything else is totally easy. Like,
yeah, right. Yeah.
Like I'm working out in Arizona, living the dream, making snacks. Like this is, so I feel like I have this hustle in me that's just like untapped, like sometimes to my detriment. Like I will just literally go until like my body breaks, but which I'm trying to learn not to do.
Sure.
But yeah, I just hit the streets, and then I started shipping nationwide, and then I built my whole website. I did all the graphics, I did all the photo shoots, like, just built it how I wanted to build it. And I think a lot of times people want to hire other people to do things for you, but I wanted to flush out my concept, and every day I'd be in there tweaking things, or I would have a good conversation with the customer. I'm like, ooh, I should put that on there. Just stuff where I was like learning over time. And now like, our website's like bumping, shipping bars everywhere, like automated my emails, like just like so cool, like to just see like that, be sitting on the couch and all these orders coming in. I'm like, this is cool. Like, and then we're shipping those out nationwide. Everyone gets a handwritten note from me. I spend hours handwriting notes. Like my hand is like always cramped up, but I will never stop handwriting notes. Everyone gets free stickers. We do like cute cactus stickers, or I'll do like a different theme. And then customers will send me pictures of their laptops or water bottles, like covered with the stickers I send them. Sometimes I send weird ones too. Like I get the vibe. Like I'll see a customer's name come in. I'm like, ooh, I wonder if they'll like this one. Like, and they're like, this makes no sense, but I love it. Because I just was like, I don't want to keep sending them an Earth Sugar sticker. How boring is that? Like I want to just send them something silly and just bring joy to the world. Like that's really what I want to do, is just bring joy. And I think that's like has been the coolest part when people receive our orders and they send me pictures and they're like, Like, you know, you get stuff right now from Amazon. It comes next day. It's in a bag. You know, it's got just like no love in it. Like,
tire
you know,
marks on the bag and stuff. Yeah.
It's like not tired. Yeah. You're like, okay. You know?
Was that a Honda Accord that just dropped that off?
Yeah. And I get my orders out day of. They come in, I get them out next day. So usually I can get my orders out like next day locally. They're shipped next day or 2-day ship. The only time we have to wait a couple of days is if we sell out, because I'm like constantly selling out a product. We're constantly making it, and we make them fresh. Like a lot of energy bars. If you go, I dare you guys, go to a gas station, look at the bar section, look at the expiration date. Those bars have been sitting there for absolutely years. And a lot of times before you can even sell into gigantic stores, you have to already have a shelf life that's over a year. And that's why you have R&D specialists kind of like figuring out, well, how do we make this product never like go bad?
Yeah.
Which is like, I'd rather it go bad.
Yeah.
Or you can freeze it. Like our products are 6 months shelf stable and they freeze really well. And you can just eat them straight out of the freezer.
Yeah.
But when you first get them fresh, they're nice and soft. Like you can break them apart. Like it's just a total different experience than, you know, the hard bars at the store where you're like breaking a tooth and you're eating it. And you're like, I feel farty. Like, you know, like I'm just like, stop the farts. Like we don't have to feel this way. Like
I know I should feel wholesome, but I don't feel wholesome right now.
And that's the best review I get is people eat the bar and they're like, oh my gosh, like it doesn't have an aftertaste. I'm like, that's because it doesn't have any chemicals in it. And they're like, my stomach feels good. I'm like, yeah, it's because it's not like a shelf stable rock.
Yeah.
You know, like it's alive. We just made it. Like we just smashed this thing. Like it's fresh.
And it's one serving.
Serving.
It's not like, 170 calories. That's great.
Oh my gosh.
4
that's
servings.
my favorite.
Like, 3 chips.
Don't even get me started. It's crazy. My favorite too is when it's like a bar like that and they'll be like 3 servings. Like, okay. And that is the perfect example of them wanting to manipulate the label. So you're looking quick. You're like, oh, only 70 calories. Then you go home and you're like, oh wait, that was 4 servings. Like I thought that was 1. And that's a perfect example of that, of being like, oh shit, my macros don't make sense. And that to me is like, come on, like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like just say what it is. Like I'm not someone who restricts my calories at all. I freaking eat. I don't like, I'm in a state of total freedom now. Like I just eat food that makes me feel good. I don't count calories. I definitely used to. My whole life, I really was riddled with all of that and eating issues and food phobias. And like, since I was able to get this under control and really focus on food that's meant for me and buying it from local vendors and people that love me, like you feel great. And you know, when you eat great foods, it's really hard to kind of like to feel bad, like when you're eating a bunch of great stuff. Like you can eat eat fruit. Like I eat truckloads of dried mango. Like I literally, my body consists of dried fruits. Like
30% dried fruits.
30% dried mango. Like I'm not even kidding. Like,
that's great. But that's the thing too, right? Like over the years, you hear about these fad diets, like, oh, avoid fruit. Like I always was like, what?
Those people make me crazy.
Yeah.
And we all have to understand that everyone's trying to make money. Like everyone's trying to come up with their thing. And even we see now with like people who are advertising like carnivore diets, a lot of them are starting to eat fruit. They eat avocados. They eat because they understand like your body, first of all, your body needs to poop. Yeah. It's really hard to have a correct GI tract when you're not eating when you're not intaking water, correct fiber. Fiber is beautiful. It also fruit. I mean, it just makes you feel alive. Like I love fruit. I think fruit is so cool. I'm like a total nerd when it comes to fruit history and like how fruits happen. Like how are there so many different species of fruits? Like that's where my brain goes at nighttime when it's like 1 a.m. I'm like, what is the history of the banana? Like most people don't know, like in the United States, there's only 1 species of banana because this species has been genetically mutated over time to, it's not even like, it's just like, technically it's like inseminated. It doesn't have a seed or anything, but that 1 species of banana was the only one that made it by ship over to the States. There's like over 500 varieties of bananas. Yeah. All different ones, different shapes and sizes, like different colors. There's blue bananas. I mean, it's so cool. And they all have different flavor profiles. And that's like really interesting. Like for me, when I'm sourcing my ingredients from different farms, like, or mesquite, for example, like different regions, you taste the difference, kind of like honey. Like all these honeys are different. Like, and you get different flavors, their colors are different. And that to me is like so fun. Like I'm just like, oh, ooh, like, let's try a different dried apple. And like people notice, they're like, you put different apples in here. I'm like, yeah, I did. I'm like, you like, oh, like this one's good, right? You know, like, and like, you know, that's like super fun for me, like discovering different herbs or like going to the market and someone teaching me about matcha. Like matcha is my newest flavor.
Yeah.
And AZ Zen tea is, I try to purchase local ingredients. Like I team up local with people and
nice.
they, you know, and I drive to pick up my dates from the date farm. I jam about like between about 1,500 pounds of dates in my Subaru, like every other month.
That's a lot of dates.
Yeah, I popped like 5 tires doing it too. I mean, I might finally have to give in and have them shipped, but like I love going there because when you walk out, the air smells like dates, and it's just like such a fun experience. Like I just love going there. So.
Well, I mean, just that piece of it alone, it like getting out there, and I mean, it kind of. So I grew up in like northeastern Ohio. So like, you know, you're in Pennsylvania. Like I had my uncle lived in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So I'm kind of, you know, that's both my cousins went to Penn State. So cool. I think of like getting out into the farms and like that. There's just something that, you know, so for you, right. And for what we do to get out in Arizona and see all of like the great things that farmers are doing. And do you know Mark Ryan from Riba Farms?
I don't think I do.
He's the
actually.
dude that wears the coveralls and the tie-dye shirt. Like that's kind of.
Oh, I do know who that is. Yeah. That's so funny you say that because at the farmers market we all have nicknames for each other.
Yeah.
I'm like bar lady. Like there's like salsa guy.
Yeah,
like,
salsa guy. Yeah. And Marcus tie-dye shirt guy.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know everyone by face, but that's cool.
Yeah. Well, he has. You were talking about bananas. At least a couple of years ago, he had ice cream bananas.
Ice cream bananas. That's another one. It's delicious.
Yeah. Have you ever put any of those in your?
I haven't because I'm trying to source like more of them.
Sure.
But those are definitely something I've purchased before to use in R&D or just to like use to like post on my Instagram and stuff like that to teach people like exotic fruits.
I love
it. Know, like how cool is that? Like, and then people are like, there's different kinds of bananas. I had no idea.
You just thought it was a banana.
Yeah.
Right? Just a banana.
Just the banana.
No, there's many of them.
No. And then like when you look into like apple breeding, like you make a new species of apple by literally like chopping off the tree, the branch of one apple tree, attaching it to another tree and then crossbreeding that over time. Like, it's like, really? That's all you do is you just chop a branch which is crazy. Yeah. So I've always had a dream. I'm like, when I'm older, I want to create my own apple species and just like be out there chopping branches and like tying them to trees.
Frankenstein and some sort of fruit.
That's basically what all fruit is. Like they're Frankensteins. Like they're like, ooh, we love the characteristics of this fruit and the characteristics of this one. We're going to put them together and then see how we can make. And like, there's a bunch of examples from that. Like you see in the grocery store of like, I'm trying to think, I think like there's a couple oranges that have like weird names, or if like you have a new species that comes out, it's like, how could a new species like appear? It's like, because they're messing around trying to crossbreed. Yeah.
Tangelos, right?
A Tangelo. That's the one I was thinking. I don't want to screw it up, but yeah.
I mean, that was my only shot too. Like, I'm like, I know no other ones. If it's not Tangelo, I don't know what it is. Yeah. So what, I mean, you've got a variety of flavors here. I mean, I'm looking at, we have
9. Yeah.
9 flavors.
It's got crazy.
Can you name them all off right now?
Of course. Yeah. Classic Crunch, banana bread, chocolate cherry, apple pie, cinnamon raisin, peachy berry, lemon square, matcha latte, and then pumpkin spice we released this week. I get all of my flavors from asking my customers what flavors they want.
Yeah.
Again, I started with Classic Crunch and I was just like, what flavors do you guys want? Like banana. Okay, banana.
Yeah.
Like apple pie. Okay, apple pie. And like this month, we're doing a fun thing on my email list. We're going to do like Survivor style, like, because matcha and lemon are my 2 limited editions, but I'm either gonna put them up, be like, cast your vote, like who's gonna survive, like matcha or lemon. And then we're gonna ask, we've come up with like 6 different flavors that I'm constantly R&Ding, and I'm gonna ask like, what do you want next? Like, what's your next limited edition flavor? Like lemon was one that I think I had like 500 customers ask me for. Like, it was crazy. Like everybody wanted a lemon bar. So I was just like, you know what would make everyone's year is if I launched a lemon bar. Yeah. So the second I launched it, everyone was like, no way, she listens. This is so cool. Yeah. You know, and I love that. I love cranking out new stuff and having variety and trying new things. Because especially like for me, like my diet is so limited. It's fun to have options and to try new things. And like, I love just like creating. Like that's basically why I do this. Like I just want to nonstop be creating and create new stuff. And
well, like you were told that you were an inventor, right? Like you are meant to be an inventor. So and
this is just one idea.
I know. Where are we going with this? Right? Where is this? What's next? Well,
that's crazy.
No, that maybe. Let's. Where do people find Earth Sugar? Like, there's about 100 different spots across the state.
Yeah, you can go to Monsoon Market is a great place to come pick up the bars.
Yep.
We do all the local farmers markets. So farmers market season starts October 1st.
Okay.
Everyone should go out to the farmers markets.
Agreed.
There's Old Town, Uptown, Gilbert, Carefree, Roadrunner, Downtown, High Street, Sedona, Flagstaff. There's Pinnacle Peak. There's North Scottsdale Farmers Market. There's so many. There's down in Mesa. There's farmers market in Tucson. And I will say, also on Instagram at Love Earth Sugar, and then www.loveearthsugar.com. You can find our products. And I do just want to say for anybody because I see this a lot, they're like, I don't want to go to the farmer's market because, it might be too pricey or anything like that. I really want to kind of like put this out there so people understand, like, one, we're making premium products. We're working so hard to create something fantastic. And on the other side too, like, most of us who do this, like, we're in to serve the community. So if you've come up to a booth and you're like, dang, these products are expensive, go out to your friends, put a group of friends together, buy wholesale. Like, bring cash to the market, buy wholesale. Like, if you just think like you can't purchase one product because it's too expensive, like, we are more than happy to accommodate, to feed you and your family and your community. And if you just want to come and buy bulk, like, team up with a group of 5, like, go get the moms, gather a group of friends. We are happy to work with everybody in the community to make this an awesome place. And first of all, the Arizona farmers markets are absolutely infectious. It's the best thing to do on the weekends.
It's so fun.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. If you're single and you're looking for a girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever, come to the farmers markets.
Yeah.
Like, if you're looking for friends, come to the farmers markets. If you're looking for a job, just want to get out in the world and be social, come to the farmers markets. Like, they're really an amazing thing to do.
Yeah.
And I really do genuinely think they're the backbone of America. And I think we should all be more invested in local and supporting it nonstop.
I love that.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, you can go and you can, like, what we'll always do is we'll go, there's always someone making a good drink, whether it's a coffee or a kombucha or a tea. And then there's always like some sort of a pastry. My daughters love getting like the pastries and stuff. And I do too now. Like, I quit drinking.
They're fantastic.
So good.
So good. And that's the good stuff. Like, if you want something naughty, go to the farmer's market, because I've seen, like, there's some people out there where I've been able to see their process of making this stuff, and it is amazing. Like, they're real. And even if you want to go learn some things and learn like a couple tips and tricks, like, go ask someone at the farmer's market. Like, really, it's a wealth of information, and you're totally missing out if you're not hitting up the farmer's markets in Arizona.
If anything out of this you got from this whole episode, it's come to Monsoon Market, go to the farmer's markets, and buy Earth Sugar.
Yes.
That's the one thing. Done. So, well, awesome. Well, we'll wrap this up. But before we do, I always like, a question I've been asking people lately is like, where's this all going? Like, where at the end of the day, I asked somebody this question the other day. I was like, okay, at the end of the day, when all's said and done, and you're sitting on your lake house, you're retired, and you're sipping on a tea, like, what do you want to be said about you? And they were like, what? That was a complicated question.
Oh my God, I think about this all the time. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but I think the way I worded it, like, it was a long question, and I was like, okay, yeah, like, where do you want? So for you, like, where do you want to go with this? Like, what do you want to do?
I think Earth Sugar has been my first step into asserting myself, into knowing that this is my journey.
Okay.
Like, I know so much about this industry. I've been through so much. I really want to create a product that serves the health of the community, educate people, and not gatekeep it at all. I want to create free knowledge about food, nutrition, business. I want to create confidence for people to step out and say, hey, if I'm good at something, and I think I'm good at something, and I care about this, I want to do it. Go freaking do it. Like, I will be your number one supporter. Like, I want to be able to sit there and be like, oh my God, just got me emotional. So I think about this a lot.
Yeah.
Because
that's great.
Oh my God. I really have people call me all the time, like local vendors, and I love it. I'm like, call me. If no one believes in you, call me, because I believe in you.
Yeah.
I
love
believed
that.
in me,
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean, this is the perfect culmination of like this whole conversation. I'm just like, you're more than just like an energy bar.
Yeah.
Like you are the energy bar, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, where does the energy come from? Like, because I make them. I don't know.
But you have like it's you're such a combination of so many things, like innovation with heart and soul and caring and knowledge. Like there's so much that's wrapped up into this that, like, I mean, the sky's the limit for you. And
thank you.
I love it. Now I'm getting it kind of, because I love, I mean, this is why we do what we do, is because we're sharing stories, right? And there's a lot of great stories in food and beverage. There's so much passion. So many people have given up something that was like a better path per se, maybe financially or whatever, I was going to be a lawyer, I was going to be a whatever, this or that. But they're doing this because they're passionate. And so your story like encapsulates that. But beyond just the passion and the innovation, like you're putting work behind this. Like you're there's
a lot of work.
So much work, right? So much work. And that's the combination that is a struggle for people sometimes. Like, geez, I had no idea it was going to be, this much and this much of a challenge. And we do things a lot of times, like with us, like we don't, we talk to people and like, oh yeah, I love the magazine, right? But there's so much of that energy that you get back when people are telling you like, this changed my life. Like this changed, like this is, so I love it.
But it's amazing because that is what's going to save all of us. Like that is, I think, the key to life is finding, my dad always says, do what you're good at and nothing else, and you will have the key to life.
Yeah.
And I believe that. Do what you're good at and nothing else, and stay on course, even when it's scary, even when everything is telling you no, even when, people are like, don't do that. And you got to be like, F that, I'm gonna do this because I think that I can do it. And who cares if you fail? Do something else. Yeah. I fail all the time. I think it's, I wouldn't even call it failing. I just learning. It's just, just pivot. I'm the queen of the pivot.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's all about, right? It's like, because failure is not, I tell my daughters this all the time, like failing is not what you think it is, right? Like my daughter she's in this new, like advanced, like gymnastics, tumbling type of, she's really like agile and she can do like back handsprings and all this.
That's so cool.
And last night she was like, oh, I fell trying to do this. And I'm like, that's good. And she's like, what? And I'm like, it's good. It means you're doing something that you're not good at yet, right? And you're going to keep working at it. So that falling down means that you're putting yourself beyond what your current capabilities are.
Yeah.
And you'll get there, right? And then you'll fall at the next, and that's, I think that's a thing people are afraid of. And I think it's people like you to show like, no, you just keep going.
Keep going.
It's a mindset.
Yeah.
And it's. So,
I mean, you don't have to be great at everything the first time you do it.
No.
You could cry about it. Like I cry about it, but like, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. So, well, Jenny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been one of my favorite episodes.
Oh, cool.
I know it was a little bit of a challenge for us. We had it set up and I woke up sick. I'm like, man. And
it was meant to happen today.
It was. It really was. Shout out once again to Monsoon Market for hosting us here. Make sure you check them out. Monsoon Market, just Google them. I always ask people like, what's your website? What's your Instagram? People know by this time, just Google Monsoon Market,
Monsoon
Market on 7th Street.
Come buy bars at Monsoon Market. Come buy Earth Sugar at Monsoon.
Exactly.
And their natural wine.
Their natural wines. Yep.
Recommend a wine and an Earth Sugar bar.
Good.
And a wild rye pancake mix, because that's my girl too. I love. I could be in here shouting out my friends all day
long. Wild rye, yeah.
Yeah,
she does,
Sarah, so awesome.
She
love
does
her.
Really cool stuff.
Super
too.
cool.
Yeah.
Her husband owns a rockin' restaurant.
The Parlor, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, my husband will mash food at the Parlor.
Me too. Yeah. I used to love their it's the I-10 old fashioned.
Yeah.
And at one point they would put whiskey Del Bach in it where I was like, oh man. But their food is just incredible.
So good. Everything in Arizona is so good. Like move here, but don't, because it's too crowded.
Exactly. Yeah. Far away from me. Like way down.
Just visit.
Yeah.
And come to the market.
Yeah.
Buy Earth Sugar bars.
Monsoon Market. Check out their podcast too. Well, Jenny, thank you.
Thank you
so much. Yes. All right.